Hello everyone. Thank you again for watching and for accepting our invitation to open your hearts to what we have to say, to our own understanding of things and how we perceive our reality and the world around us. Today we're gonna talk about one of the most uh, important topics for me in my development as a spiritual being, which is how to access my Akashic Records. And I did my a little notes. So I'm not going to be reading. I trust that I learned all the information. And I can tell you this for sure, the information won't be coming from a book. It won't be coming from the mind, but rather from a place of love, which is right here in the heart. And that's where all the wisdom comes from. When you access these Akashic Records, that's where we get all this infinite information of wisdom available to everyone. So this is my brother Marco. I am Miguel, and he's gonna start with a little introduction on what our understanding is today, because it might change tomorrow, because it has changed and evolved as we evolved, as well as the collective consciousness evolved. So today we do have an understanding which we believe is truth, and we're gonna share it to you in a few moments. So as my brother was saying, the Akashic Records for us, the understanding that we have on the Akashic Records has evolved throughout the years. The very first time I was able to access this information, it happened as I was sleeping. I woke up, and it always happens in the middle of the night. I was sleeping and I heard this computer voice telling me, you might now, no, your Akashic Records have been activated, you might access them now. And at that moment I went through this process of traveling. It was like an astral travel experience where I visited different dimensions, different places, and all to understand that the Akashic Records are part of my essence, part of my DNA. I am one. We are one with the Akashic Records. And from that understanding, I started to access this information. No, I didn't follow a specific set of rules. It was mostly an innate understanding that we are one with the Akashic Records, and this information is available to us by simply knowing and trusting that we are eligible to receive this information. So it's been a process, and today my understanding is a little different. It hasn't changed completely, but now I understand a few more things about them. And this is why we wanted to share this video, because if you are part of this channel and you visit other videos that we have created, there are two videos that speak on how to access the Akashic Records. Not quite, we don't have a step-by-step method, but I shared previously some information, we share some information, and today we actually want to share not a formula, because there is no formula. So for the people that are looking for a specific formula, the downside is that there isn't one. You are a unique being, we are unique beings, and even my brother and I access the Akashic Records differently. So you have to understand that this is a personal understanding, a personal thing that you have to do on your own. However, we're going to share how we personally access them, and if that helps you in any way, that's great. If not, then you will start creating your own method to do it. For sure, and what he talks about is very important, because we understood very early when we started accessing the Akashic Records that the number one thing that we are all eligible for is freedom, and freedom in every way, including how to access the information that lives within you. And this freedom can only come when you are in this state of allowance and non-judgment and trust. That's very important, because at some point, of course, I doubted, and I was like, well, who am I to access that information, which is probably of sages and avatars and gurus, right? But no, we're all in some other dimension, I'm sure, avatars and sages and gurus and Buddhas. So yes, that understanding is very, very important to create a space, and we're gonna start right now, dive right into it on the steps on how to access or to attempt to access that information that will come through no matter what. It will come through. You just have to be a little patient sometimes, and like every other skill in life, it takes consistency, it takes patience, a lot of passion for what you do, and most importantly, silence. It takes a lot of silence. So, step number one, and I would like to go right ahead with it, which is to create a loving space, a sacred space, a space of harmony where you're not going to be interrupted. Um, it can be your room. I usually don't recommend rooms, but if that's the only private space you have at home, do use it. If you do live by yourself, then you can create a space somewhere where you are mostly sitting down, not laying down. Because when you lay down, you're so comfortable that you start just being too comfortable where you might even fall asleep. It has happened before, so you don't want to fall asleep either. So step number one is that create a comfortable space, light up a candle, light up an incense, play some music. I personally don't play music, but when I meditate with my brother, he likes music. So I just have to focus on my meditation and ignore the music. Sometimes I do listen to it, and that amplifies my meditation. So it just depends on my mood, I guess. But my preference is not to play music, etc. Do whatever it takes. I do it in front of a Buddha, plants, crystals. We created a little space at home that we call it our sacred space. So that's step number one. Step number two, you have to have an intention. You have to know why you're accessing this information. A lot of people have asked me, so what do I need to do to access the Akashic Records? What kind of intention do I have to have? And that depends on whether you want to access your own Akashic Records, you want to access someone else's Akashic Records, the universe Akashic Records. Lately, I've been accessing the Akashic Records of herbs that I'm working with, specific herbs, and the Akash, or what we call our Akash, is a consciousness. We are this consciousness. This consciousness lives within us. It's nowhere outside of us where we go to. We don't go to that place that sometimes we believe is outside of us, and it's not. The Akashic Records are very within us. Basically, when you access that information, you're pretty much asking yourself, because this is universal wisdom. And if you believe that you are the universe, which you are, then you're one with it. So create that intention, very specific. And when you create that intention, or say you want information on a certain subject, well, verbalize that subject. What is it that you really want to obtain out of this information? What kind of information you wanna access? And in order to do that, first you don't have to. How we do it is we say a mantra, and this mantra can be as easy or as extensive as you want. I personally have a very short mantra, and I say, at this moment, I lovingly ask to access and interact. Then I say my name, my full name, whatever name you identify with. It can be your given name. It can be if you change your name, do your the name that you identify yourself with at this moment. And so I say, at this moment, I will lovingly ask to access and interact with my Akashic Records, and then I say my intention. And when I say this intention, it's like doing a Google search, literally. And that information sort of retrieves the information that you're looking for. Now, unlike Google, we have the ability and the power to speak our words. And there's so much power when we speak, because every word that we say is claiming something in the universe, is bringing this information forward to you. So I'm not saying that if you don't say it out loud, it won't work. But if you do say it out loud, you are really, really calling upon this information like more directly. To me, it makes such a difference when I speak and when I state out loud what my intention is than when I actually say it in my mind. It's something that I've gotten used to it. Of course, if I'm with someone or with people, then of course I quietly say it in my mind. However, I have trust over the years, and I have learned to trust my intentions every time, which is I only ask for the information that I need to know at this moment for my process of evolution at a spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical level. And I just put it out there. That's all I need. Because sometimes when I used to be very specific, I might not see the bigger picture, and I might confuse that what I'm looking for is gonna solve a situation or bring clarity, and sometimes it's not. So I try to just trust that the information that I'm gonna retrieve is always for my highest good and my highest evolution and my fastest evolution. So that's my intention. I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm just putting it out there because it helps me to know that whatever that information is, I invited it to come forward to me, and I'm always very specific on how I get the information when I ask, which is in any shape and form. It can be spoken, it can be a visualization, it can be through another person, like literally. I'm open to even that. Someone else the other day called me and say, hey, by the way, this person I didn't know. Said, I don't know you, and you might think I'm crazy because we only know each other like from Facebook. But I was meditating last night. This person told me. I was meditating last night, and Lord Metatron, which I don't know if you know who that is, he asked me. Like, of course I do. He told me to tell you this. And it's amazing how, it was the information I was expecting. But had I said I need this information so clear that I can actually hear it, then I'm limiting myself and the outcome on how I can get the information. And this guy was just one more example on how this beautiful wisdom can manifest into your awareness. And at this time, it was through a random guy that I just connected with.
And it's important what he's saying, that once you set up your intention, you surrender any expectation on how you're going to receive this information, because it also can be received through, like he said, a vision or a feeling, even a feeling, by hearing a voice in your head. But mainly, you have to just be open that this information will be given to you in the way that you need it to. You need to receive it. So once you create your space, you set your intention. After that, now you just have to feel good. You just have to make sure you connect to your heart center, because during the process of trying to access your Akashic Records, you might start thinking too much, and at that moment you start getting confused whether you're getting this information or you are making it up. And the best, and this is not advice, the best way I can tell you that has worked for me is to feel good about myself, to start just connecting to my heart center, and to start bringing good thoughts even sometimes. Or I see myself in a beautiful place, in a beautiful space where I feel at peace, or I start like just massaging myself, or just it doesn't matter what you do as long as you feel good, because it is through that feeling good that you will receive information. You cannot just connect to the mind and start receiving information. No, you have to feel good. It is the heart is your direct connection to this information. So feeling good is definitely to me one of the most important steps or parts of accessing this information.
And before the video, I was making some notes, and I wrote, not like a definition, but for the mind, that's what it does. And I wrote, accessing your Akash means to consciously connect with all that is, because in all that is where all information exists. It even rhymes. So what that means is that what we call the Akashic Records, if you just like look around, like turn around, those are your Akashic records. Everything that exists within you and outside of you in your reality, when you look around up and down, all that are your Akashic records. Everything that exists in the universe and universes and the cosmos is your Akashic records. You can call it data, you can call it wisdom, you can call it God, you can call it prana, life force. It makes no difference. It's all the same, because in the universe is all one. There's no definitions of this beautiful and magnificent energy that we all are plugged into and belong to and are connected to. So everything is your Akashic records. So that's why when you look around, just know that everything is being recorded, everything is being noted and noticed and kind of like written down somewhere. Just record it. So yes, we're kind of being watched, and every single moment, this moment is being recorded. And the moment ago, the one I said it was being recorded, and the one before was also recorded. And for eternity, every moment will be recorded. And all those now moments are your Akashic records. So when you retrieve information from your Akash, you're only retrieving now moments. You're bringing that information, that now moment, which the conversion my brother did was this keyword in Google, is the same thing. So it's probably the closest metaphor I can give you for what the Akashic records are.
Yeah, and most people that believe that the Akashic records can be used to access past lives or future lives, that's because we exist in linear time, and therefore our mind needs past, present, and future. But in reality, these Akashic records, this information, only exists, like my brother said, in the present moment. Therefore, that means that you're not really accessing information from the past. You're accessing information from a life, an alternative life that you might be experiencing at this moment. We just like to think is in the past. And you can say, well, what if I want to access my Akashic records from when I was born? Why do I have these fears? Or yes, again, in this linear time, in this dimension, it might be perceived as the past, but that moment is eternal, and it's forever going on, and it's recorded in a way that you can just go there and it's there. It's not in the past. Unfortunately, the idea that we have of things existing in the past or in the future will not cease to exist, because we're in this dimension and we're bound to that belief or that conditioning. But just put it out there, that the seed that today we can plant in you is that everything exists in the present moment, and nothing exists in the past, nothing exists in the future. So if you try to access this information with that idea in mind, that you're only accessing a different dimension that where that moment exists, you will have an easier time rather than trying to go to the past or the future. So that's another thing that we are very aware of. And from there, you just have to trust. You just have to trust that information will be given to you, because it's your information. It's your birthright. You are your Akashic records, and no one can tell you that you cannot access them, that you need a certain certification or a certain degree, or to watch a certain video, or to listen to a certain meditation, or to do a certain mantra. The Akashic records are not limited to a method. And if people have developed their methods, that's beautiful. Just as much as I have developed my own method, and my brother has developed his own method, you can develop your own, and you can rest assured that you will access the information. You just have to trust and know that you are that master that is eligible for this.
So the invitation is always going to be to try it and experience it for yourself. I know a lot of people don't trust that they can get information, but my brother and I are living examples that you can, because our background is, and that's a different conversation, comes from a very mental place, where the etheric didn't exist and all these concepts were like for cuckoo people. But everyone is available, like my brother, eligible for this information, like my brother mentioned. Try it. You have nothing to lose. It's a really fun exercise, and the more you do it, the faster you retrieve the information, and you'll see that all these possibilities open up for you. Not that before you make a move, you're gonna access your Akashic records, because it doesn't work like that either. But for things that matter the most, yes, you can sit and on meditation and just listen. And that act of listening, that's the retrieval of the Akashic records when you consciously connect to your heart, because your DNA already contains the infinite wisdom of the universe.
So we hope this information helps you in any way in your process of development, evolution. If you have any questions, you can send us a message. You can contact us through Instagram, through Facebook. The information is below. Subscribe to our channel, and we're always happy to help. We are not any type of master that holds any type of information you don't have, but we can hold space for you and give you our own perspective. And thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon. Namaste.